Hello? Hello, those online, please indicate if you can hear us from the conference room. We're coming to you live from the MESTI conference room in Accra, Ghana, and it's on the launch of the GEO Week 2022. We're coming to you live from the MESTI conference room, the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology in Ghana, and we are the media launch of the GEO Week 2022. Please indicate whether you can hear us online. Great. Can you also see us? Are you able to see us?
No.
The projection. Oh, great. Are you able to see us now?
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
thank you. Anybody else having difficulty hearing and seeing us? Good. We'll be starting shortly, but just testing our systems. Welcome to Accra, Ghana, and Ghana will be the host for the GEO Week 2022. And we are here with our partners coming to you live from the MESTI conference room, Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology in Ghana. And we are excited that you can join us today from all over the world. Indicate in the chat where you are joining us from. And you'll be given opportunity also to contribute.
Hello. Afternoon. I'm not planning to.
Okay. Hello, Rick, can you hear us? We want to test if you're able to hear and see us, so we can also hear you. Can you speak?
Everything's fine from our end.
Great.
We're live.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Peter. You can keep the information coming. Tell us where you're connecting from. We are glad to receive all of you, both online and in-house. And thanks so much for all of you for giving us the time. We'll be starting shortly, so please have patience. We're expecting some dignitaries to greet us shortly, and we'll begin our program. In the meantime, there are some items or media coverage that we'll be sharing. Please keep the information coming. We want to know where you're connecting from and what you're expecting from GEO Week 2022. Thank you. Hello, Mo from Ghana. Thank you for joining. Hello, James. Hello, good afternoon. Hello, good afternoon, everybody. All right, that's good. I'd like to welcome everybody this afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you're connecting with us from. You're welcome to the Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology, and Innovation in Ghana. And we are excited to have you here this afternoon, morning, evening, wherever you're connecting from, to a very important program we'll be hosting here in Accra. And it will be a very interesting program for you today. So I just want to thank you for waiting for us as we are just about to start the program. My name is Kweku Entry and I'll be your MC for today. So we all gathered here today for a very important launch of a program which will be coming up from the 28th of October to the 4th, from the 31st of October to the 4th of November in Accra, Ghana, this year 2022. It's the GEO Week celebration, or the GEO Week 2022, where we'll be hosted here in Ghana. And we are coming to you live from the conference room of Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology, and Innovation. Without much ado, I would like to hand over to our Director of STI at Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology, and Innovation to give us an opening remarks or welcome.
We take the opportunity to welcome you once again to today's press lunch. We are privileged to have you together with the international partners online, and we are still looking forward to the minister joining us. He is still, caught up in another equally important program that was scheduled earlier. So whilst we continue to wait for the honorable minister, the idea is to continue to go through the other, lined up items so that as we journey through the program, the minister will join us and then we'll take it from there. So we welcome you and we hope and pray for a successful lunch. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Quayson, and thank you for hosting us this afternoon. So yes, we are the media launch of the GEO Week 2022, which will be hosted in Ghana from the 31st of October to the 4th of November 2022 at the Accra International Conference Center here in Accra. It's a very important meeting because when we talk about GEO, one of our presenters is going to be explaining what's important for us today as press and media men, so that we can carry the information out to our fellow citizens as well as the world, because this is a very important international conference that Ghana is going to be playing a very important part. And this is a great opportunity for all of us coming from all over the world to deliberate, to conversate, to make plans, and also compare notes so we can learn from each other. An important aspect of this is that we get to engage with each other. So I hope that persons here today, and both in-house and online, will be noting this so that we can ask questions, put forth information, and also we can be able to have some engagement. All right. So thank you so much, and we are glad to have you all here together. The GEO Week celebration, or the GEO Week 2022, is being hosted in Ghana under the Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology, and Innovation in partnership with the Group on Earth Observations out of Geneva, the Ghana Statistical Service, the University of Energy and Natural Resources, the Ghana Space Science Technology Institute, and a number of other entities. Very important. It's really a great honor to be here with all of you, but it's also very important to recognize some very important dignitaries amongst us. And today we are graced in the person of the government statistician from the Ghana Statistical Service, in the person of Professor Samuel K. Enim. We are very glad for your presence here with us this afternoon. And I believe some of us will be wondering how we would have our government statistician with us and what statistics has to do with what we are having here today. And this is going to be exciting for us to connect these dots and see how organizations are working together. Without much ado, I would like to invite Yana Govardhan from the GEO Secretariat. She's a director. Can you connect with us?
I think I'm already connected, Paku. Am I not? Can you see me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can see and can you hear you? Can you hear us and see us?
Yes. I've been following your opening. Thank you very much. And
Thank you.
I'm really pleased to come in and greet everybody. I like how you put it there in your comments, the GEO Week celebration. Indeed, I really think it is going to be a celebration, not in the least because as a global community, we're all coming to Accra, Ghana, after 2 years of kind of being contained to our places, right? So it is the celebration of people coming together and gathering, and it's gathering of people who share a common vision. And that vision is what binds those of us in the group on Earth observations. And that is that in order for us to have a sustainable, bright future on this planet Earth, for the planet Earth to be available to the next generations, we need to be developing our economies, growing our societies with the environment, with Mother Nature on our minds, because we truly are one with the environment. And so our decisions must be informed with the knowledge and information that we have about planet Earth. And where do we get that knowledge? Where do we get that information? We get it from observing planet Earth. We have satellites in space, we have sensors in the atmosphere, on the ground, under the water, that continuously collect information about the Earth. We like to say we take the pulse of the planet Earth. And when we take this, when we measure the vitals of the planet Earth, we then work with that information and data to extract important insights that we want to become the basis for decisions, for policy, for planning, for investments in all aspects of our society. That is really what is GEO's mission, and that is the mission that binds 120 or so UN member states, of which Ghana is a member. And so I'm really delighted and grateful to the government of Ghana for hosting this GEO Week celebration. And just a short few weeks, we really can't wait to be there. We have a very rich, robust program ready. But I would like to say just maybe a few words about how exactly the Earth observations translate into support for decisions, and how we have seen Ghana really take an active role in GEO in using Earth observations, statistical data, citizen science to inform policy and make decisions. So imagine what you can do when you can actually extract insights from Earth observations to predict the extent of crop failure ahead of time. So you can help secure food and livelihoods for people who will be affected by that reduced harvest. Imagine what you as the government and local communities can do if you get advance information about flooding event with 14 days in the advance notice. You can really take preventative action and relocate populations, secure assets, and really reduce the cost and damage to people's lives and livelihoods. The broad international community had recognized the importance and value of international broad coordination and sharing of this type of data some 20 years ago. In fact, exactly 20 years ago, during the World Summit on Sustainable Development that took place in Johannesburg in South Africa in 2002. They recognized that Earth observation was key to sustainable development. But flying satellites in space and constantly collecting information about the Earth is very expensive. And so the vision that these parties shared was that there must be a rich international regime of exchanging and sharing this information so that everyone can benefit equally. And this building of equity and parity around the world, empowering and enabling all the communities, all the governments around the world to be able to use this kind of powerful data for their local decision-making has been driving GEO for the past 17 or so years. So we're coming to Ghana because we want to showcase how our member countries have been making use of this vital information in making policy decisions. We are really hoping that Ghana will share her experiences with other countries in how you have been advancing this vision of GEO in your country. You have truly embraced this GEO approach of using satellite data, combining it with statistical data and citizen data to drive decisions. One of my favorite cases is where you have done this to monitor marine debris along your coastal zone. You have partnered with ocean conservation networks and organizations to inform cleanup activities. And your government has been, for the first time, using these types of data to report on Sustainable Development Goal 14, which talks about preventing and reducing marine pollution of all kinds by 2030. So congratulations to Ghana for being so advanced, using these different types of data collectively to take these kinds of policy decisions and real actions on the ground. We're also looking forward to hearing about Ghana's experience, but not only other African countries' experience as well in creating and promoting digital transformation on the continent. Ghana is a board member of the Digital Earth Africa, which is a partnership of African member states who have collectively, with some donor funding, developed this data dissemination system, which now allows countries on the continent to make use of this Earth observation data and information to meet the demands of African Union's Agenda 2063, to meet national priorities, drive the kind of development and decisions that fit the national and local context. For example, in Ghana, you have your statistical service has worked with Digital Earth Africa to map vegetation changes in your National Forest Reserve. The resulting analysis led to a ban on logging and other activities to reduce deforestation in that area. The GEO Week in Accra will be a real showcase of a whole host of initiatives that are promoting sustainable use of natural resources, appreciating the value that we get from our rich and robust and complex ecosystems, We will talk about how to develop national adaptation plans by countries in order to meet the goals of the Paris Agreement, future-proofing those plans. We will be attracting youth to the GEO Week and the private sector and creating a dialogue between the two so that our young people, the young generation who own the future, can see themselves being integrated into this mainstream of using Earth observation to create decision support that really will have a great impact on our lives and livelihoods. We are also gathering in Ghana in this particular year, not only just to reflect on our experiences to date, but very importantly, to consider our future. Despite all of this progress that I've just talked about, and despite the fact that there is much more data available every day than ever before, there are still parts in the world where there are gaps of data, or in fact, gaps of knowledge about using the data. In fact, in this case too, I'd like to recognize the efforts of our Ghanaian partners, and you have one of our close colleagues, Amos Kaboga, in that room I can see, who are thinking very actively about how to create programs that build capacity of communities to make use of the kind of knowledge that is being generated by this global community, so that this knowledge can serve more and more communities on the African continent and in the local communities as well. So as we all convene in Ghana, we have a real opportunity to reflect on what has worked well, where have we really done well in terms of creating knowledge, sharing this knowledge, but also to seriously consider what we must be doing different so that we can accelerate the impact of our work. We will be bringing with us also partners from other regions of the world and representatives of the indigenous communities, because there is a growing recognition that modern observations and science need to be paired with traditional knowledge in order to develop appropriate solutions for local contexts. So there is a lot coming to Accra in Ghana, and we're very excited. And I'm going to probably stop at this point to see if Honorable Minister is already there, or if there are questions or whatever Kwaku will have me do. Thank you.
Good again for her. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I mean, you've given us a mouthful to digest, and it's interesting the kind of programs that is being collaborated with and being done with GEO data. And we are glad for this collaboration and for these activities. Are there any questions so far from the presentation? I see a hand raised, Nima. Is it the Honorable Nima from Tanzania?
Yes, good morning, everybody. So my name is Nima Lugangira. I'm a member of parliament in Tanzania. And I just want to commend Yana's very good presentation. I just had two quick questions. One of which is, you talked about the importance of data sharing between the countries, and I wanted your opinion on how can that be aligned with respect to the different data protection acts that are in place. So that's number one, because different countries in Africa have got data protection acts, and even globally. So how then can we achieve this sharing, especially considering that most of these satellites are owned by international companies? So I wanted to get a better understanding of that. But then the second point is, what is your opinion in terms of engaging parliamentarians in this process? because you mentioned that you want to see how your data can be used by local communities and the capacity building of local communities. And this is where I see there's a unique opportunity for also using parliamentarians as legislators, but also as the people representing, the people who you're targeting. So I just wanted your opinion on how do you envisage the collaboration of parliamentarians as well, because I missed that in your presentation. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nima. Those are some really good questions. You did not really, those are some really good, important questions. So I'll take the first one on data sharing. I think the first important thing to highlight here is that Group on Earth Observations was created and to ensure this broad, open sharing of publicly funded data. And there we have certainly, especially the space-based observations, there we have really achieved a great deal in terms of moving the needle from data sharing being an exception, now really being kind of the rule for the publicly generated data. Where it is still not necessarily the same case is, as you said, in the realm of privately owned satellite data, right? Satellite data that is generated by private assets, commercial assets. We do see quite an encouraging trend, however, even in this space, because even the commercial sector really wants to be part of the change, wants to assist the governments to tackle the global challenges. At the moment, the paradigm that is in place and is working in various programs is public-private partnership, where either philanthropists or government donors are providing certain funding to allow for data to be shared, or that commercial data to be shared. I think this is a start. And so far already, we've seen some real results coming of these kinds of partnerships. For example, we know the program where the government of Norway really has enabled access to high resolution data over tropical forests that has been provided through the Group on Earth Observation networks and other pathways to countries to make use for monitoring their forests. We are seeing similar approaches being deployed for other application areas. But I also think we are nearing the time when both sides and the private sector also is ready to take the next step in the conversation. And I think this is exactly what I mean when I say that in Ghana, we will need to consider what are our real expectations from GEO going forward. So do we hear the member states say that we need access to commercial data? Then let's hear it. We need to hear from you, member states, what will help you and assist you to make better decisions so that we can then challenge ourselves to develop the kind of partnerships that are needed for GEO to be fit for purpose. On your other questions about parliamentarians engagement, I love that question. I think this is really sort of, as they say, the holy grail, right? Where you want you actually want legislation to say that you need to use data, including Earth observation, for your policies. And that will really stimulate the culture of data sharing at the national level across agencies, because let's face it, it's not just foreign commercial satellite data that is not always shared. It's even the national level data within the single government that is not always shared across agencies. I come to my job from the United States, where we very fortunately ended up with the legislation, Open Geospatial Act. But it took a lot of time. It took years for us to arrive at this point. Here within the GEO Secretariat, we are in fact thinking about capturing these kinds of best practices, good practices, to share with our members in terms of what can in fact stimulate that kind of culture and environment, enabling legislative environment. But ultimately, I think this kind of outcome can and should be achieved when you have sort of grassroots, perhaps, campaign push, for the citizens and the local community to really be demanding transparency in data governance, in sharing. And for example, organizations like Global Partnership on Sustainable Development Data, where Ghana's vice president is actually a member of the board of GPSDD, they've developed a data manifesto, data values, that is really promoting this kind of transparency in open data systems. So push like this can come from bottom up, but also, of course, I would encourage all of our senior officials within their agencies to work to promote the notion of data sharing, because really it's only when you're able to fuse the different types of data, like the statistical data on social vulnerability and exposure to extreme events, that you can make informed decisions about where to deploy scarce resources that our governments have.
Yeah, no, and thank you so much, Honorable Nima. I would like to acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Minister, Dr. Kweku Efriye. And at this moment in time, I would like to invite him to give his opening remarks. Thank you.
Well, let me start from very profuse apologies for being late. It wasn't intentional, but this is my third event, and each of them was so important to me that, yes, maybe I was too ambitious, but I'm sure all of them very happy I was there. I put in my animal presence. So even though I am Lelemi and I apologize, I hope you bear with me. The director of GEO Secretariat, Yana Joe, had the name Jovan Gijan, the government statistician. I don't understand, parliamentarian is joining us from, Tanzania, virtual. Nema Lugundura, I hope I've gotten the pronunciation right. Fellow participants, on behalf of the government and people of Ghana, and on behalf of His Excellency the President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, I welcome you all to the launching of the GEO Week in Ghana, which will be held from 31st October to the 4th of November here in Accra under the theme Global Action for Local Impact. As we all turn our eyes to Africa for United Nations Climate Change Conference in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt, COP27, and Ghana hosts the presidency of the Climate Vulnerability Forum, CVF, we are reminded of the extent to which African countries are exposed to the adverse impacts of climate change, including droughts, floods, forest fires, biodiversity loss, water scarcity, and food insecurity. Indeed, Ghana takes it so serious that only yesterday I hosted the Minister for Environment of Marshall Islands in this very room. He's come because the president is the member of or chairperson of the Climate CVF, which Marshall Islands is also a member, and also was making efforts to get Ghana to sign the high ambition HAC. We are also reminded of the urgency to work together to find innovative solutions to the multiple challenges towards building resilient economies, fast food, water systems, and ensuring the sustainable management of forest resources and biodiversity. We want to remind everybody that if we chart the path that the global north took to get their developed status, the world will go into cataclysm. And in fact, we will have pulled the last plug on our, the way we're going to survive. So even though we are suffering the worst forms and impacts of climate change, the paradoxical argument or the effect is also that we, in some way also, especially those of us in the global south, and particularly in the tropical regions, hold the key to the solution of these problems by and large. Of course, all those mitigation actions and adaptation actions, we have to do that in tandem with everybody globally. But to some extent, human ingenuity and science, which has caused these environmental challenges, is also the same instrument that can walk us back, if you like, to the pre-industrial times. And again, we can also turn to science to find this solution. And in this context, we are honored to host the 18th plenary of the Group on Earth Observation, GEO. And we are hosting the week and a gathering of leading scientists, space agencies, governments, and private sector companies that aim to foster partnerships based on open data and the best available science to support better decision-making. So the key words are open data and the best available science. Unless you don't believe in science, then you deny, you go into climate denial. By science, like I've said, who brought us here, and science who can take us away from the teething problems that we have. This meeting aims to accelerate global collaboration using Earth observations as evidence for local impact in Africa and around the world. This meeting is well-timed and aligned with our country's and the continent's ambitions, I dare say. The African Union's Agenda 2063, the continent's blueprint, seeks to transform Africa through inclusive and sustainable socio-economic development. Fundamental to this agenda of 2063 are the African Outer Space Program and the African Space Policy and Strategy that reinforce the continent's vision to be a consumer in the global space arena and become a producer and a regulator of space products. Through these initiatives, the AU is working to address the growing needs of African countries to harness space technologies and services, including Earth observations, to drive policies and decisions to attain the Agenda 2063 and the Sustainable Development Goals. Ghana has been very active in GEO activities such as the Digital Earth Africa. We value GEO's convening power and the services its initiatives potentiate and provide. So I look forward to the discussions on how we can collectively address our global challenges. And I wish you a very, very fruitful discussion. And I thank you. And let me also apologize again for being late. And I hope that we will make up for this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister, Dr. Kweku Afriyie, for those opening remarks. At this point in time, the GEO Week is being hosted by a local organizing committee, and I would like to invite Professor Amos Kaboba, who is the co-chair of the local organizing committee, to also give us his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Minister of Environment, Science, Technology, and Innovation, the government statistician. In fact, I'm very happy you are sitting together. It just means that there has to be science and statistics must move us forward. Also, the member of Parliament, Honorable Nima, I think this is very important for us, and it's also to showcase the importance of taking decisions to the Parliament level. That is very good that you've joined us. My fellow co-chairs, Mr. Omar, for SDGs, for helping us through up to this time, and it is very appreciated. The director of STM, Mr. Kwame. Then the director of Ghana Technology Institute, I think he wasn't able to come, but his representatives are here. The media, to ensure that we are able to push the news to the people so that they understand what we are all about. We are distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and all other protocols observed. Today, personally, for me, marks a very important journey. A journey which I think we have to start to see the importance of what has been happening. For us as a nation to move forward from point A to point B, for us to be able to move forward from understanding the wealth of our natural resources and adding the value that we need to do, it starts with what we are going to talk about in the GEO Week. The GEO Week is about telling us how, and out of that measurement, how we can make decisions out of that. So I'm really humbled to be representing the local organizing committee to present to us so far what has been done so far. So there has been a lot of talk about the group on Earth observations, which was already given by the GEO Secretariat. But just to highlight that Ghana in the year 2010 decided to join the group on Earth observations. Why? Because it was important for us to join in order to benefit from the keyword that the minister just mentioned, open data sharing. Open data sharing. Because going satellite data is not cheap, so we needed to join in order for us to also have the access for that. Now, if you look at our nation, our country as a whole, we are driven by a number of critical resources. And at a time that we also need to immediately start to think about what we have to do to understand these natural resources. Let me start from the first one, energy. 90%, almost 90% of our energy is coming from hydro, almost. Because we have the Bui, we have the Akosomoa. And these are all driven by rainfall. Because if the rain is not there, how do we do it? Now, the truth of the matter is that nationally as a country, we do not have enough in-situ measuring stations for us to be able to understand the inflows. And that is why the use of satellite data to complement becomes very critical. So it is one of the things that we are going to benefit because the world will be coming to us with emerging technologies in this area so that we can better know how much water is going to come and how we can be able to harness and build our energy sector. There are other two things. We receive a lot of sunshine, solar energy. All these are all things that we can use the Earth observation to be able to provide some input to that. Then the other thing is disasters. Just recently, we had this flooding issue, which of course, we have to, urbanization will continue to be on a rise. That one, we can't stop it. I mean, at least the government statistician is here. The average young man who is reaching 20 is married is aiming at least having 4 children or something like that. So if we look at these values, these are going to increase as we go along. Now we continue to build. So of course, we are also building in especially in areas that are supposed to be left free, but because of the fact that population is growing, this also affects these pathways. Now with the satellite, it is also possible to monitor all these things. Now, then we have cocoa. It was very interesting for me when I visited Switzerland, just to realize that just a bar of chocolate is cheaper than in Ghana. Now, we must, as a nation, this may be info, but in a way, the Chinese are beginning in one way or the other to understand how we grow cocoa. So we, as a nation, must start to think about how do we manage this issue? In fact, how do we manage the issue of understanding spatially and temporally cocoa farms are changing into mining? These are things that nationally we have to think about. And this forum will give us opportunity to clearly understand how we can be able to move forward with our national agenda. So the program, we hope, is going to touch on a number of things. The last one I want to mention is about health. Right now, most, let me call it, most Ghanaians or most youth in Ghana are wearing smartwatches, or they use smartwatches, or they have smartphones. And these smartphones are all based on environmental data, which is collected by satellite to give us prediction that, okay, the weather is going to be good. And if you are a certain kind of patient suffering from asthma or any disease that is related to the environment, you can be able in a way to advise yourself on what you need to do. So I'm just trying to say that there is a broad spectrum of impact that it has, from agriculture to our energy, all these aspects. There are going to be initiatives that will be talking about what can we do in order to support the movement. So we have had some preparations so far to look at how best we can be able to host this program. So we had already the GEO Secretariat visited us. We were with the Honorable Minister. We were with the government statistician. We are also with the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, which we also went there to also discuss. And because this is very important for us to really see how best we can be able to make impact at the end of the day. So if you look at it, the other thing that is even coming up is that we have made a number of operations. And if you look at so far, the program is going to have a number of dignitaries that are going to be present. Let me just mention that the vice president of this country is very happy about this program, because this program is going to highlight how we can further leverage on our agenda on the digitization that we want to do. Because, for example, if you want to map all the settlement areas and be able to raise income in order to clear, I mean, from this kind of things, we can be able to look at a number of things that can come through. So we have a number of dignitaries, as you can see. Of course, our host, let me mention in this presentation that the Honorable Minister of Environment, Science, Technology, Innovation is the GEO principal on the global community. So from the global community, he's our principal, he's the chairman at the global community. Then we also have our Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, Honorable Samuel Dinapo, who is also on the Digital Earth Africa and who will also be presenting. These are two highlights that we want, but there are others from the global community that are going to be present. Next slide, please. Now, let me there is going to be the GEO week itself is going to start from the 31st October to the 4th November. But before the week before, from the 24th to the 28th, there is one of the GEO initiatives, of which I want to mention that the University of Ghana, hosted by the ECOWAS Marine Center, is leading this process. And this initiative is more like the ocean and coastal arm of the Group on Air Conservations. And their aim is more about the sustainable use of our oceans and how best we can get societal benefit from it. And you could hear from the GEO Secretariat Director that, in fact, it is one of the things that Ghana is doing so well through this particular initiative. So there will be also a number of experts, institutions that will come together to further discuss. And also, I think they have requested our Honorable Minister to also be present, because science for the oceans for taking decision making. So the Honorable Minister will be there to look at how best we can work on that. Now, they are going to, during the event itself, the GEO week itself, there are going to be a number of site events, as I just mentioned, when on disasters, on the issue of technology, blockchain, artificial intelligence, all the things we need to think about when it comes to the management of these things. Then there's also going to be what we call national GEOs. And in fact, Ghana has taken an effort. We have already have some discussions, and we are hoping that during this GEO week, the national Ghana GEO will be established with the research institutions, the academia, and the policymakers to ensure that jointly, from immigration to security and all that, we are all collaborating to understand how best we can live safe on our planet Earth. Next slide, please. Now, we are also going to have industrial track, and usually the industrial track opens room for the private sector to come and showcase which tools do they have, which tools are good to support us in our decision making. And we are expecting over 200 plus participation from this. And the other component is the youth track, which is very critical for us. And I think this shows us that the GEO week is looking at, let me call it 3 levels. We are looking at from the government high level, president, ministers, and we are also looking at the private sector that is continuously developing these tools, their role, and most importantly, the youth, because they are the ones that need to take up and understand that these are the emerging things that we need to do, and they are the ones who will come to ensure that we safeguard Ghana for a better future. So there's also going to be a lot of, and already I think from the youth, we are receiving a lot of applications. So we have almost over 300 youth participants who are already prepared to come to join in this particular program. So now, though it's not on the slide, but I need to mention it. Within Africa, we have what we call the AfriGeo. Now, the AfriGeo community is also looking at collaborations within Africa. So just as we have the member of parliament from Tanzania that is present online, we are also going to have several, in fact, ministers from agriculture. About 16 of them will be coming to join in this particular meeting. And the purpose for us is for Ghana leading and joining with the other African countries for us to think about, one, land degradation issues, about agriculture, about disasters, and how collectively we can join hands in ensuring that we are able to meet our African Union Agenda 2063, the Africa we want, the Africa that will become maybe the next China of the world, whereby we can produce, we can manufacture, and we can create jobs for everyone too. So the program is open. You are free to join. It's still available. The link is available. They are also going to be Twitter and Facebook things. So if you go there, you can see all the practical information you need in order to join this program. So let me conclude by saying that we welcome the academia, researchers, NGOs, think tanks, groups, policymakers, engineers, wherever you are, as long as you are in Ghana, to join us with the world to discuss, learn. Learning doesn't stop, because for us to take in this new technology, we must be prepared to learn and to adapt to see how we can use these tools in order for us to be able to transform data to policy, and at the end, helping us to make the decisions that ensure that someone in my village get 3 square meals a day. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Kaboba, for that presentation. And please, the information for registration is projected. It's www.earthobservations.org / you have the GEO Week 2022. Registrations are online so that we can be able to accommodate and know the persons coming, and also for registration purposes, so we can also see how best we manage the GEO Week. At this moment in time, are there any questions from the presentation so far? From online? All right. Okay. Thank you all for joining us, and we are glad to be hosting you. At this moment, I would like to go back to the Honorable Minister of Environment, Science and Technology Innovation, Dr. Kwekwe Friye, to do the official launch of our GEO Week 2022.
Where is it? All right, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to do the honors. I believe my job is very, very, very simple. The lunch is coming at the end of all the deliberations, and interventions, and the remarks, and speeches. I believe that this is a very, very useful program. Before I do the lunch though, let me take this opportunity to talk about observations and then science statistics. It's just something that was going through my mind as especially the professor was giving a speech. We have to have a way of humanizing data so that people can feel it. People can actually picture the sweat, the blood. That is when we can get a movement that will support initiatives like this. Because as in my professional practice, I believe that we must transcend those cold scientific things and humanize this thing so that we can carry people around. As we know, science embraces logic, common sense, deduction, induction, reduction. But in all these activities, do that for and behalf of people, and this is an application science. We apply the data so that we can make an impact. So I believe that we have a unique opportunity. We have to make sure that we leverage on these tools so that we can have this GEO movement to harness the things that are good, that has happened around us, especially from the outer space and all the observation that we can do, so that in several respects, even jump some of we do a quantum jump of some sort, and then we can develop faster, more than we have come. On this note, I want to say that with this, I formally declare the GEO Week officially launched. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister, for those words. And it's important that we humanize the data and the data speaks to us. And it's a beautiful segue to also go to the next person who will be speaking, in the person of the government statistician, Professor Samuel Enim from the Ghana Statistical Service.
Honorable Minister, Dr. Kweku Efriye, colleagues who have joined online virtually and colleagues who are here in person with us, good afternoon. Indeed, it's been a very short engagement, but an important one. As the government statistician, let me engage you with a couple of statistics before we summarize the issues that have come up, which is essentially a forward march following the launch by the Honorable Minister. The Global Partnership for Sustainable Development data recently indicated that if you invest $1 in any data system, it's not data being available, but the data system, such as collaboration with the ministry, the returns is $32. And this is exactly what Ghana Statistical Service is doing. We are trying to change the face of statistics to deepen what I call the ex-ante engagement with statistics to inform policy. The second statistics that I want to share with you, which will highlight the importance of the event that has just been launched by the Honorable Minister, is for us to think about this. Ghana joined GEO in 2010, 12 years after 18th plenary session, Ghana is hosting it. This clearly tells you that even if all 120 countries were doing it, Ghana is the 18th country after 12 years to be doing that. This is because of the commitment that government at different levels has put to data, specifically, as was said by Professor Kaboba, the Vice President making himself available for the week, sitting on the board of Global Partnership for Sustainable Development data. Clearly, as a country, we are embracing data in a different way. And this is where we expect our colleagues in media to further engage with Ghana Statistical Service to understand the changing face of data. We are moving away from traditional data sources, surveys, and censuses, and getting into non-traditional data sources, specifically what we've learned today, which has to do with Earth observation. This data is collected every minute. This data, as was mentioned by Professor Kaboba, helps us to better understand our context. And that is the only way we can say that these are the pathways for our development. I would emburden you by going over what Professor indicated, but issues of disaster, health, food security, underpin what we have to do as a country. One last word is that this Earth observation data would help us with the redistribution that we need to minimize the inequality that we have. So colleagues joined virtually, colleagues in-house, Honorable Minister, thank you for doing us the honor. All that we're going to do between now and the 31st of October is to work assiduously to get a traction that this celebration deserves, so that as a forward march, we can use data to deepen and restructure our policies. Thank you, colleagues, for making time.
Thank you so much, Government Statistician, Professor Enim, and thank you also, colleague dignitaries for gracing us occasion. I'd like to go over again. The GEO Week will be from the 31st of October to the 4th of November. Registrations are at www.earthobservations.org and / you go to GEO Week 2022. All the information you need about this GEO Week is on the website. The GEO Week is being hosted in Accra at the Accra International Conference Center. It's being held in collaboration with the Group on Earth Observation, the Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation in Ghana, together with the Ghana Statistical Service, the University of Energy and Natural Resources, the Ghana Space Science Technology Institute, and is powered by the African Open Data and Internet Research Foundation. I believe that most of us here would have a few engagements with our dignitaries so we can further highlight and we can drive this. And just like the government statistician said and other dignitaries, especially the minister has said, please let's take the information out there. And it's important that we utilize some of these tools that are available to us, that we can be able to expand and also highlight what Ghana is doing, not just locally and internationally, and also collaborate to do our things. Thank you so much for this opportunity. My name is Kwekwe Ntwi. Thank you.